Southwest sky met sea, the grandest ship that ever be, came bounding in out from the deep. What secrets does she keep? Acid burning Lady Grey, General Gunner, Dragon Heart, Dave the Geek, Danny Samini and Hammy with Diamede sang. Yo, let the flames flow, the eclectic visions run and pick was Captain Mad Love's entire crew came bound for shore, exotic crafts and arts. They wove in tales of DJs and pickles and more. The ship we're all are free to create, to make mistakes from art to lakes at any pace. Whatever you do, you're part of the crew and a vessel of harmony. Yo, let the pins flow, the eclectic visions rum and pickles, Captain Mad Love's Say it began to speak to me, to tell me tales about the sea, of all the places they had been and treasures they did see. My wonder grew evermore, they welcomed me to come aboard. No matter the faction or size of your heart, the captain crew did sing. Go, let the pins flow, the eclectic visions pickles, Captain Mad Love's
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. This is Captain Madlove coming at you live and in person in our monthly class. How is everyone? We actually are going to be working on a different guide than we were working on last night. There it is again. Hold on. Let me straighten that. Is that right? So weird. Huh. I think my camera might be backwards. Hold on. This is my right arm. Yeah, okay. Okay. I see Raven out there. Embrail, hello. It's nice to see you. Nataku, hello. It's nice to see you. I did. Would you like me to use the name Brian? Or would you like me to use the name Nataku? I am aware that that is you. I remember you popped in, I think, on one of my other. Oh, yeah, you know what? We actually have our share of it over here too, Raven. Let me just fix the fan here. It does make the paint dry faster though when we've got the fans circulating. What do we got here? A sticker. Hey, baby. Put that up in there. It actually has been very rainy over here, and we have storm warnings and the whole 9 yards. The yard is mushy. Hemi doesn't particularly care. Oh, I need to get my guy. Hemi doesn't particularly care for the mushy yard, and there's something that drains into our yard that makes her feet really itchy, and so she has this foot nibbling thing. There you are. Hello, hello. We are going to be working on Orin today, and I'm actually just going to go really quick, bring up that that shout that I know there was 3 subjects that I was addressing, and I'm like, Oh, da 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 da. There's Raven. Oh, look at you already ready. Okay, let's see. Oh, we were going to do the highlights on the curls, deep accessing a deep recess shadows, because it seems to be a question I get a lot is like, okay, what do we do about these little, crevices? And then blending in tight areas, if that is even necessary. But it sort of is in a way. So it's more of a from the shadowed area down, that little bit of gradient. Okay, that looks really good. Let me see if I can just enhance my view a little bit, you guys, on this. And it might make, I don't know, it might not. No, it doesn't make the lettering any bigger. Hold on just a minute. Okay, let's bring it down. I thought that was going to be good, but it wasn't. And I apologize. I apologize. We definitely have had our share of technical, I will tell you that. Okay. Nothing I can do. All right. Oakley dokley. Colors for this guy. And I think maybe we're going to incorporate this. And we shall take the little magnet off the bottom of this guy. So this is going to be a lot more convenient. This fella here is really big. You guys, I'm assuming that everyone that's out there, I don't actually see, be really careful. I actually need something that I can pry these off with. That is not my razor knife. That'd probably be a really good idea. These actually have this two-sided tape on them, just to let you know. If you guys want to put a magnet or you want to put a washer on the bottom of your minis temporarily, it is hem fusing tape, two-sided. You do not have to iron it, and you just get it off of Amazon. This whole roll is like about $5. Whoop. Let me back out a little bit for you guys. There we go. Yeah. And it's really nice because you can put a little piece of it on a magnet or a washer. You can even put it does stick to your rubber gloves, but you can put a little piece under their feet and even hold the miniatures to the base temporarily. So I find that to be extremely convenient. Now, I know you were in the stream last night, Raven. Yes. So you got to see our big boy here. This fellow. I'm probably going to do a little Insta Live on this, I think, maybe. Tomorrow, I don't start till 3, so I might have time in the morning to do that. We'll see how the day goes. But now this guy, I need, while I bought you Midnight Hero guys out there, I need his name. Let's get a spelling on that name because he actually came without a box. And you know me, I can't remember anything I don't write down. Unless it's about painting. And then for some reason, it just stays in my mind. I mean, I have things in my mind from painting when I was like 5. Well, let's get a name on that. And I shall wait. And we'll see how long the delay is, too. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That was well worth it. So, this is, oh, that's who they were talking about. Ollie is his name, you guys. And he's a pretty big boy. Now, I'm thinking, I don't know. I have several different thoughts on what I'm gonna do with this fellow. I may be going. I don't know. I'm really liking the Cuttlefish metallics. They're working really good for very fine glazing. That's actually what those paints are designed for, so I'm really liking that. Oh, okay. So this guy is not in their store yet. He is just on their Patreon, just to let everybody know that is out there. And I'm going to see if there's a way, and I don't know. We do have this could be it. Is that it? No, no. Let me see. I am going to peek here, you guys. I just want to see if there's a way. Hold on. if you can't hear me for just a second, if there is a way that I am able to go to, we do have the Patreon only channel. I don't know. Just to be able to see how many people are there. I usually wait a few minutes. Hello, Dave. You prefer cider? Oh, okay. Well, you know, but he is only available right now on the Patreon. So just so that you guys know, and you'll have to excuse my tacky didn't really quite hold him together as well as I would have liked it to. But I'm thinking about doing some Insta lives. Maybe tomorrow we'll do one. We'll do that. And this one, since you weren't there, Raven, this is the one that we're working on right now. And we're glazing highlights and some shadows and coming in with some of the areas that are going to be metallic and kind of working up the colors. Oh, we had to get, I was showing everybody how to get the composition first. So in reference to laying out your miniature, you know, one of the problems that a lot of people approach me about is like, oh, well, it looks so balanced. How did you decide what colors go where? And I was telling everybody, now you could sketch it out on a piece of paper. You can actually go to if you have a tablet, to the website, get a picture of the miniature, put it in your tablet, and then color in areas to see how you like it. Or you can kind of block it in. In this case, I actually used tinted Stynylrez res. And I blocked in the areas of just the blue and the pink. Now I had really bright orange in there, but it just wasn't working for me. I was like, okay, no, it's not working with these gradients that I have. And then I was explaining to people how that tinted primer helps when you are using the glazing techniques, because either that or a base coat, of a color that is more opaque, that will cover the area. I find when glazing, it's easier than glazing so many layers like over gray or over white. And if you're glazing, one of the things that's difficult to glaze over is black, just to let you know, unless you want really dark colors. So if you were going to try to glaze this pink right over black, you'd be there a while. You'd be there a while. Okay, so in reference to the colors for this guy, we're going to be going a little bit different route. As you can see, we have some different colors. He's a lot smaller. We're going to zone in on that for you. Okay. And as you can see, he's got like some curly hair, a little bit of a kind of a dreadlocky thing going on, a little bit. There we go. And he has a bright yellow recesses in his cloak. And actually, I wanted his cloak to glow. And so I'm going to pull out the green, the neon green and neon yellow from the cuttlefish. And then we'll see. We're definitely going to need some brown skin tones. And so rather than, no, I think I'm going to remove this. I don't know if she'll actually stay there. She'll probably end up squidging out and going right back to the couch. She's been pretty adamant about that. And then we have, of course, Seti, that I've been working on some different streams. I'm loving the way her hair is getting worked up. But if we were going to do some eyes, which maybe later during the hangout, we might do some eyes, and that would really be cool. In the meantime, looking for some brown skin. First of all, please forgive, my hair was not cooperative at all. Like, it has been just an absolute, I don't know, it just doesn't want to do anything I want it to do. It just wants to be, it is having a terrible, and so we're going to do that. And then we're going to pick out some of these browns. I'm not totally familiar with all of their browns. So one thing I tell everybody you need when you're making skin, you've got to have a color that is a yellow ochre. Okay. And we're going to need to, do a little bit of skin tones on him, but we're going to need some browns for that hair. I've got like a mud pie brown, which is, I think, a chocolate bar for if you're looking to match up and you don't have these colors. Let me get the other box here. These are mostly the purples, and then you're going to need a white. that is like an ivory or an off-white. That's for your highlights. You do want it to be warm when you're dealing with darker complexions, unless it is such a dark complexion in a cold environment. Then you would want to go with, well, at least in the shadows, something cool. Cool brown is very difficult to achieve. It's one of the reasons I'm such a fan of Van Dyke. Let me see if I can find that lemon yellow. I found a bright yellow and a white yellow. Let me see. Here it is. Nope, that's sunflower. I think I might be missing like a whole box of paint. Oh, no, here it is. All right. But we're kind of going to get a glow. These guys have fantastic neon paints. If you guys want to know, I mean that really, like seriously, they're really neon. They're really good. And they have good mixture still yet. Always, the neon paints are always, I feel like drying a little quicker, but these have a little bit more time on them than a lot of other brands. And they're not, the best part I like is they're not goopy. Now you are going to need a solid white. So let's see, let's put our colors out here. For skin and hair, we're going to need the brown, a white. We're going to need these neon colors. We're going to need a solid, pure white. These guys have what's called White Night. And I bet I put it in the bucket over here. There it is. Nope, that's Five Sisters. Here we go. White Night. So you want a plain bright white for your hot points in your neon. Okay, and then of course we're going to be doing shadows, and what I'm going to show you shadows with, he is primarily going to be wearing, well, blue would be a good contrast against his yellow cape, so we could do that, but focusing first on his curls and his cape, and then I'll worry about the rest of it. Wait, I can't fall down that rabbit hole, Dave. I have to, in the next session, then I can fall down that rabbit hole. All right, let's see, because some folks only have the amount of time. Here we go. Toasty skin. Good highlight. We're going with the really dark brown hair. We're going to need the black. Yes, infected yellow was a good color, but the neon yellow, that was, that's this one. Oh no, I like the guac green too. But we're not using that. See? I'm going down the rabbit hole all by myself, Dave. Happy birthday, Dave. It's Dave's birthday today, you guys. Okay. And then the cloak having the glow, I'm thinking almost black, but then you want to get that radiant on the outside of it. So you're going to need a really dark green to accomplish that. And on these curls, we're going to need, I think, to make, again, Van Dyke brown being that nice, really dark, rich brown that I like. Very, very few companies actually even have a Van Dyke brown. And then for shadowing, we are going to go with walnut brown. We're going to give that a miss. That is an ink, and that is made by Green Stuff World. And I'm going to show you guys, we're going to use a brown, and we're going to cool it off with some blue. And I'm going to show you guys how to get in, because really, getting in those shadow, the little recesses is a lot easier than you think. I have a, let's see, I have the walnut brown is a little bit red, I want to say. Inky took a bath in the paint last night. He's having a moment. Check him out. He was playing all over the palette. All right, let's see. The walnut brown, there's that smacking. The walnut brown has a wee bit of red to it, so it's a reddish brown of these inks. It can lean either way depending on what you want to put in it. Now, swamp brown, if I'm not mistaken, this is the one that has a little bit of, oh no, this is the really green one. I mean the really red one. Swamp brown is the really, I thought it was the kind of green one. That's why I pulled it. And I also pulled the sepia just in case. All right. And then, of course, but this is a good choice. Also, you can add a little blue from Green Stuff World to cool the ink off. Or purple. It's still missing. Okay, the blue ink is still missing. I have cleaned up part of the studio extensively. So in that case, we're going to use, it's my ink by Green Stuff World. That is the blue. They look like this. It's been missing for, it's probably, wait, let me check one more location, you guys. I did clean some stuff up and put it over here. Yeah, no. Okay. All right, so I pulled everything from the desk and we don't have it there. So it's kind of like somewhere in the shadows. Let me see if this is it. No, that's my hull. Okay, so that being said, we are going to use today, Kevin is reddish brown. Yes, I noticed that. I'm looking for more of a Van Dyke brown for this project. All right. Let us get, woo, Inky. Inky down. Uh-oh, and his little sticky can part. Oh, we can do a little
What was the name of it? I'm sorry. Last time I asked about
it looks like this. Let me just take one I'm not going to be using, you guys. Swamp brown. It looks like this, only it's a blue. The name of it could be Alien Sky for all I know. But they come in a matching set, so it looks like that. And I usually keep my inks right there on the front, but I don't need it though. Like I said, we're going to be using no sense in throwing a wrench in the works. We're going to use the Dollar Rounty today. And this is a good choice anyway, because it mixes with everything everywhere. And we're going to cool off our shadows with this. Now, there isn't any color that I can tell you that would be comparable. Has anybody gone out and got themselves a red grass wet palette recently? You stepped in it brown is darker. That's okay, because honestly, any respectable brown that anybody has, I have a stepped in it brown, and I have the mud pie brown. Any respectable brown, when you mix it with the black, whatever company you have it by, that'll work. Generally, it'll at least lead towards a deeper kind of Van Dyke brown look, which is kind of what we want to get. Only because that's just a really good color of brown. Everyone is saying hello to your feet.
Got shoes on.
The crew is trying to get your attention. They are greeting you.
Well, I'm ignoring them. I said hi to them in the chat. I got one response. It was Dave.
It's his birthday.
That's what he gets. He gets to look at my feet for his birthday.
Apparently that's what you get for your birthday, Dave. I cleaned my sponge, and it has it's bubbling with green, simple green. Yeah, I haven't used it in about 4 months, so. Yeah, I know it's not here because I bailed this out. I bailed it good. I bailed it good. I did. Okay. All right, let's get to it. All right, we are going to start with the hair. We're going to put out some black. And remember, again, on these paints, if for some reason you've got cuttlefish paint, cuttlefish paint by Cephalopod, and you squirt some paint onto your palette and you find it's a little bit clear, you need to mix your paint more. On my mixer, I turn them upside down in a little holder that I have. This is my little bracket that goes on the mixer. Again, I have the Vortex. Remember, that's the one that we sponsor and we love, as in, yes, we sponsor them. And they don't really have any sales often on theirs because they're rock bottom prices. But if you use Captain Mad Love when you go to order yours, all right, then he will mark it down on a chart that he has. And once we have sold 10 of them, I will be giving one away to somebody. But they do have to be, of course, in the United States. He doesn't ship outside the United States at this time, unless, of course, you want to pay for shipping. Now we're going to go ahead and use the I Stepped in It brown, since that was actually over here with another project we were working on. Dave was mentioning that it was a little bit darker. It is still a reddish brown. Okay, it is a warm, a very chocolatey looking brown. Okay, we're going to need a little bit of the yellow ochre helps with the highlights on that. If you mix on the hair and you've got brown hair and you mix white with the chocolatey brown, I'm sure you guys know what you get then. And that highlight is not quite a pretty highlight. It can look a little bit muted, and so you kind of want to keep it a little vibrant. That yellow really helps keep it vibrant. We are going to do this the very simple way for the purpose of, we'll say, miniatures that you're going to be putting in a game. Now, I'm not talking Warhammer miniatures here. I'm talking like, game piece. Not that those aren't game pieces, but I mean, it's a different look. All right. Let us pull these little guys out over here so we can borrow I only have one metal pan that my guy magnets to. And we're going to bring that here. I have been really enjoying this idea. It kind of keeps all the little paints that I'm working on that project right there. Now, the very first thing we do need to get, let's see, we've got some of that brown ink out. We're going to need to get some of the other ink out. That would be the Dollar Rounty. And we're going to try to really simplify a few things. First of all, you'll notice on this particular miniature, let's see how close we can get in. There we go. There. Okay. You'll notice on this particular miniature that he has actually, his hair along his head is that shaved short, and then he has what local guys in Hawaii call a bula style hairdo. So we want to hit the majority of the hair with what's going to be the base color. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix over here. Let's see. Let me get you guys on the colors. There we are. And we're going to mix a wee bit of this black. With some of this brown. And we're going to create a really deeper brown. Now, the other thing we can do, and this is really cool. So this is in reference to using these green stuff, or these inks. I love these inks. You can put just a drop of this, that's a lot. That's a hard word to pronounce right there. I'm not too sure what to think about that. we'll give you guys a try on that, okay? We're going to fortify it, still keeping that nice glaze effect to it. I'm going to put also a drop of the walnut in there. So we're going to end up with a really rich deep brown, but mixed into this really good glazing medium and color that we started with. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to come in here and we are going to paint all the areas of hair with this nice rich brown. And when you do this, you want to get all the way into the recesses, okay? This is going to be your base color. Watch what color. Now, I have also primed this miniature with Stynylrez Res Ebony Primer. Okay, it does make a difference. Again, we're glazing, and oh, my magnet isn't going to want to stay on. Are you serious? Is this what we're going to do today? The two-sided tape hasn't really, I should have probably super glued it as per someone's suggestion last night. Yeah, it's not going to stick. Gosh darn it. I've been having this problem with the two-sided. It's sticking to some of them, but not to others. I'm wondering if it doesn't have a, maybe the stands on these are a little bit different style of resin. Oops. Hold on. I got that little thing stabbing me in the head. It's a, there we go. Oh, that's much better now. I can go faster. Okay, and you want to get this everywhere that you can, in all the recesses, all up underneath of his curls, in all the recesses. Okay, right now you are setting the shadow base for getting your shadows in those small recesses. Now, one of the things that's nice also about a glazing medium paint, the medium that they've used on this really does like when you add, I noticed specifically, I haven't tried all of them, but specifically the inks by Green Stuff World. It kind of, the two of them mixed together create, believe it or not, almost a contrast paint. They act a little like contrast paints. They settle into all the areas that are recessed, and we want to get that. All right. Now, you may have to come back over, remember, and one of the things we're going to do with his hair on his head that's short is stipple to get a textured effect on it, which will help. Okay. Now, on the subject of the cape, this is going to be a little blending in those tight areas as well. I got the black, I got the brown. Is this the green brown? Oh, that's a really good one. Okay. Now, we're going to take a little bit of this deep green. It's Elder Druid Green. And we're going to use that, but we are going to take some of our Ink by Dollar Brownie. We're going to cool this green off. It's going to become a seriously dark, almost a camel green, but it's going to be like really, really dark and cooler than camel green would be. I'm going to thin that with a little bit of my distilled water and retarder, and we're going to come in here and we are going to catch these areas all underneath of his head. Again, we are currently laying in the base shadows of your recesses. So take your brush, use a brush. We're gonna drop that brush. Use a brush that you can push with. Something that you won't ruin the tip on. That one looks like it got washed last night. Hopefully you guys are. We still have almost a month left on the challenge. If you guys are not signed up for it, all right, now we're going to get in here and in all these areas that are tight into the body, take this and push it up underneath. Now I'm going to cockeye this for you. All underneath of here. Okay, get it shadowed good. I was going to make his cloak originally yellow, but then I decided to use these neon paints, and it's okay if you get some of this on other parts of his clothing. It's perfectly fine. These are your shadows. You want to get in here, okay? And the object here is in these little recesses, using a brush that you can push into the shadows. You see how we did that? I just took that and just like shoved it right up in those cracks. Drag out a little bit. There we go. And then we got, whoop, and then we got to get, same thing up here at the top. Now, right underneath of this hood, you're going to have a line, right? There you go. And just, it's almost stippling, but not quite. You're just shoving the paint into those cracks. Just shove it. Shove, shove, shove. Pushing. Okay? There's the base of your shadow. Now, if you have the ability, yeah, you're a little heavy on one side. If you have the ability to be able to get in there with your glow colors while it's still wet, you're lucky. We're going to put a little bit of this out, and we're going to put a little bit of this out. And we're going to develop our pre-glow, as well as we need to come in here. We need to get a layer on this green using the plain green. We want to get the base of the cape kind of locked in. You will come back with other colors and you will change this using the side of your brush. Helps you in areas where you don't want to see brush strokes or where you've got a long edge and you can't keep your hand steady. Instead, you can just like whoop, use the side of the brush and it just is really smooth and really fast. All right. Meanwhile, his head is drying and we'll come back to that hair. Right now, we're focusing a little bit on his cloak, getting these areas that stand out, going up into the shadows with a light glaze of this because it is part of your effects you're going to need. Let's see. And we're going to turn them around. We're going to get back underneath it here and we're going to put another glaze of shadow. Underneath, we got to get a lot of shadow. So you want to really push that in there. I might make the, on the side, right? Going underneath the arm and kind of following some of the lines will help develop a little bit more character in these. And if you grab a little bit of that yellow and shove it right in here, okay, you can actually mix that around and get a little bit of your green and your glow started. A little bit of green. And we'll kind of get the glow started. A little bit more shadow. Now we're wet blending. We're pulling and pushing and pulling. And just a pushing and pulling motion. A little bit of that plain green. There. Do you see what's happening? And, oh, I didn't put the plain white out. Hello, Pascal. How are you doing? We're going to take a little plain white. Blending, a little yellow. And we're getting a little glow blend. Do you see what's happening? Right? Now we'll come back in. I think I might be a little bit, there we go. It's that camera that's got me confused. It's cool, guys. There we go. There. So we get a little bit of his glowy cape coming in there. We do need to kind of get this area here fortified, maybe a little bit of green. There you go. A little bit of green on this line. And you'll see the glow start to take effect. Okay, now I'm going to do that again. Now, oh, he just does not want to stay on this frigging magnet. It's like, Oh, and the really horrible part too is that my gloves really like to stick to the magnet. They love it. Okay. Now we've got, you'll notice, right? We got to get this edge here. Come in with your glowy green, glowy yellow. Notice I'm not skimping on the amount that I add because this takes some layering to get the effect where you're going to want it. We could use, I think what would be nice is a lighter green. I'm going to find one here that's a little bit more fortified in color. Here we go. We've got a Christmas green. This, it's got one that's very thin. The Afterlife green, super good, bright color. However, very thin total glazing color. Okay, like really, for some of your finer glazing. We're going to put out some of the Christmas tree green because it has more opacity to it than our neon green. Put those in here just so I remember I'm using them. And I can use that to kind of lift some of these areas that we're going to bring up in green. Where we fall into the recess, we're going to want to use, you know, a darker because that starts to shadow, right? And just sort of dance the brush. Really, it is. It's just dancing the brush a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of the neon green to just make that green a little bit poppier. And really, you're just dancing that brush. I'm serious. It's like it seems a lot more complicated than it actually is. There's gonna be an ugly phase, patience and time, and continue. So we got some brush strokes. It's cool. It's cool. Right now we have some brush strokes. That's where we're at with that. All right, we're gonna come back in here. We're again gonna mix the ink. That is the Dollar Rowney, Payne's Gray. And we're going to mix that again with this nice deep green. Okay. Now, if you are not using a paint that is a glazing medium paint, then you're going to want to add something to it to get a little more clarity. So I use the distilled water and a little bit of paint retarder to thin when I'm not using a glaze. The other thing you can do is you can get the medium directly from Cephalopod. Okay. And that will make your paint thinner, meaning more transparent, but it will not make it thinner, meaning more watery, or so it will just make it more transparent. You can add this to any one of your paints. It seems to play really good. with other paints. Now we're going to take this shadow, and again, we're going to come up in here and we're just going to use a brush that we can push with and push it now that all these shadows are nice and dry, and we're going to push this shadow color all up in here, okay? And then I want you to take it and drag it out away. So you're dragging and inconsistently. So don't make any of your lines. This is the side that's got the light, but it's glow. So glow cheats a little. So don't make it like chopped, like one straight line. You want to vary your shadow a little bit so that when you come in and you start glazing, you don't have like a, unless it is something, you know, like the side of a building and it's actually making that effect, then that would be different. But with all this flowiness everywhere, we're going to come right in here in his armpit, and we're going to take some of this again, nice and dark, and right up in by the armpit and right by the clothes and under the arm. We're going to get a little line of it. Take the excess off the brush, and then I'll come in here and I'll kind of pull it into the glow gently so that we can, you want to, with a gentle touch, and you'll notice that then now it starts to go back into his body. We should probably touch underneath of him again while we're here, because we've got a really, really good shadow being built underneath. Let's take a look at that. You see that? Really dark. And the on the third layer, the cephalopods on the third layer begin to really give you a very dynamic effect. Don't make a judgment on them too soon if you're using them. I'm going to put a little line right here to give a little contour. We're going to come in and clean that up a little bit, but it's going to give a little more swoosh. We are getting some glow right here, so we're going to have a little OSL on his head. And now that's looking pretty good. Oh, we forgot one little area right in his armpit here. Right? Yes, it's getting all over his clothes. Don't worry about it. You're going to cover those. It's going to be fine. Okay. Now that we've got this, we're going to come in and we're going to, okay, so we've got the head. All right. So we're going to get, you want to get, you've got to have a few nasty brushes. Those little guys that are nasty like that. Okay. Now, when you stipple, stippling with paints that glaze is a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to just step away from that for a moment. I'm going to find an old Vallejo, if I can. Let me see what I've got. Yep. All right. Let's see. We got a wash. We got a Beastie Brown. What have I got? Beastie Brown. Oh, that's, what is this? Oh, here's a burnt umber. This is not here. Let's see. Let's see if this one is still any good. It has been around for a minute, so I'm not sure it's still good. But you can stipple with paints that glaze. You just have to realize that your stippling then becomes, you know, you've got to layer it. It's going to take a little bit more time. They are designed, of course, for one going over the other in order to create the end effects and colors. And what you need to do the base of the stippling on his hair is going to be paint with some weight to it, opacity to it. Like even a craft paint works really good. Let's see if this is still any good. I've had this one for a minute, but this new mixer is making, oh yeah, that's going to work. That's going to work. Okay. I'm going to push that back. I'll put this over here for you for a second so you can see this nasty brush project that I do. The other thing that you're going to need for that, of course, is going to be something. I'm going to see if there's any more. I haven't been using a lot of the Vallejos lately. I do. I got a black over here. Okay, so now we've got the base color down. We're going to want to make another dark, really dark brown. Okay. And then remembering that we've got this is the side with the light, but we've got a little glow. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to get a little bit of this and a little bit of the black, and then you're going to make a dark color, brown, and you're going to smash your brush all up in it. And then you're going to come in here and a damaged flat works really good for this. Okay. You're poking it. This is stippling. We're poking. You're creating texture on his head. Now, on this side where we're going to have some light, we're going to take a tiny bit of the yellow ochre, and we're just going to come in here and kind of get a little bit of a highlight. But then we're going to come back with the brown, and we're going to go over that. And ultimately, it mixes. Okay. Then we'll go back for the dark brown and come up from where the shadow point is, making sure we keep it nice and dark. We want to keep that dark color, like, you know, back here and under the ear. And of course, right along the hairline here. Okay. And you'll notice that we just developed a little bit of a highlight. We'll take a little bit more, and then we'll go like right along here. Just kind of there, like that. So get a little highlight on that side, right? This side here, your base color actually becomes your highlight. You don't really get a whole lot because it's the dark side. It's the dark side. This is where the cookies are. Okay. So it gets a little bit lighter. All right. Now, that's going to dry. And while that's doing its drying thing, you're going to take a brush that you can push and put ugly brush, okay? And we're gonna go into all the recesses, but we're gonna use the ink that was the Green Stuff World ink, and this is the walnut. Now, what you can do is you can cool the walnut off by adding a little bit of Payne's Gray, but let's just take a look at what the walnut does by itself, okay? And what we're gonna do is come in here and hit these recesses on all these little areas of his curls. Along the base. All right, this is your tiny areas that you're shadowing. Again, I do believe he has a fancy in his hair, and I think we'll come back for that. Oops, the reason I'm sitting so far back and awkward is because I don't have my, okay. You'll see a little bit of texture in these. Go for it. Get those shadows up underneath. Make sure you guys are able to see. Sorry, it's that my camera has me confused, okay? I hope you guys have all looked at our Kickstarter. You know, the delivery will be out probably before Christmas. We're looking at the mail outs during November. I hope you guys have checked it out, and I think it would make an absolutely great Christmas gift for anybody that doesn't have a Christmas gift planned for maybe artsy fartsy family members, mini painting family members. All right, now check it. Okay, our shadows are all put into place. We'll come back to the cloak for a minute. And now you're going to get your base color green. Okay, and we're going to come in here, and there's the link to our Kickstarter. We have family members buying them for other family members for Christmas. I think that's going to be a really cool thing. And we come in here and we're getting the base green down. This is the darker of the greens, but not the shadow green. And we glaze it right over the shadow because what it does is it starts to build the blending. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is a little piece of it too. Let me get that because it looks like that's a thing. Okay, then we're going to get into the Christmassy green, and we're going to go over the areas that are out here in the light more or closer to the glow. We're going to mix a little bit of the neon yellow with some of that right along the glowy edge here. And when we get into the recess, we'll grab up the darker color, that is our shadow, and blend it right in there. Just pull it out, just like that. Okay. Let's get a little bit of our green, neon green. Blend it right in along here. A little bit more of that yellow to get that vibrant color right along here. We've got to build the colors. But this little area, you can see I really got the colors happening. So you're starting to get the feel for what's going on. We're going to need a smaller brush to get in there. See how that's happening? Let me get that. There, are you on? Okay. I use a little bit of the glowy green, a little bit of the glowy yellow. And we pick and choose the areas that we kind of want to build. And the glow will start to show up. And when we come back to this part here, we were working on the lighter green. The medium green. That's the Christmas green. Not the glowy green yet. Because we want to get a nice smooth and blended effect on our base green first. Now, as you notice, it's starting to go from the base green into the shadow, right? And some little areas, you got to kind of pick a little bit of the shadow out and get a little bit more base green in there to start getting the effect that we are seeking. We're going to go in here, we're going to clean all this yellow up. This is the ugly phase. Don't stress yourself. Pulling towards the corners where I want to get a lot of glow, and right here there's going to be a lot of glow. I'm really building up this particular base green. That's the Christmas tree green. Color crayon green, anything you have on your desk that's close to it, you need, if you're glazing, you need to thin it. And then we're going to come right in the middle between the two, and we'll use that darker green that we used to mix the shadow. And we kind of hit the spot in between the shadow and the green. Make sure you get your shadows good and developed. I'm going to take a little bit more of the ink, and right here where he's got this little swoop and right underneath of his head, I'm going to get like a super dark green. Then I'm going to stipple. And this, I'm poking, I'm stabbing the paint into that tiny little recess. This is getting that those shadows, those dynamic shadows into some areas to create depth. Did you see what I did? I just stabbing it in there, okay? We're going to make sure we get some of that right in here and here and right in his armpit, because that is going to help with the volume There, see? Now we're going to turn him upside down, and we're going to get that same, what I did is I just mixed a lot of that Payne's gray into that darkest green that we were using, and I'm stabbing it right up underneath the bottom of the cape, as in closest to his body bottom, not necessarily the bottom of the cape. Then I will clean that brush off, and I will come in here with the medium green while it's wet, and I will kind of blend that up into that shadow. And I'm going to take the Christmas green, and I'm going to get excited with it and paint all over the cape. No. And I'm going to hold on. I got to correct a little thing I did here. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to take that Christmas green, and I'm going to get the edge of this to get a little base going on it. Yellow is a little bit thin, so we're going to build on this with a little bit of the neon green. So I started with the Christmas green, and then I come along and I mix the neon green in it, so I can get a super vibrant green edge going. Okay, speed a little bit more. Whoop, there we go. Okay, now, I got to get this edge over here. Although this edge, I think I'm just going to go straight over the yellow with the neon green, so I can build some glow over here. There we go. All right, now we let it dry. It's looking messy, panic not. What have we got here? So I'm actually having a separate apparatus built for my ball. It works pretty darn good with it. Right now, my trouble is getting the right thing to stick my magnets to my mini. Let's see, hold on. 12:30 to 1:30, 12, 1. Okay, we are close to that mark. All right. Now, we've got all of that built. Thin brush. Nice tip. It's not a lot of area we're going to be covering. I'm going to say like maybe a size 2. Look at that. I grab a size 2. What I want to do, all right. Now, hair all depends on like what your end all be all results are. Stippling, I don't do it a lot on hair. You can, especially when you're doing the first part. Scales too. Stippling will save you a lot of time. We're going to come in here and we're going to mix a color that is, we already have one here that is lighter, but we do need to fortify it a little, meaning we just need to give it a little bit more volume. So I'm going to mix the tiniest bit of the yellow ochre into it. And remember, when glazing, you can always come back. Now we've got our light coming from over here, and we're going to say that it's just coming at the same angle that this is. So we're going to utilize this as the line. I'm going to go this way. So maybe the light is kind of coming from the front. And so what I will do is I will come in here and I will kind of mark where I'm going to be getting these highlights. This is a secondary highlight. Okay. Mind you, not the main highlight. I'm making tiny, tiny little stripes. Tiny, tiny little stripes. Okay, and we're just going to do that in the areas that are going to have some highlights. Mind you, it is a glazing paint, layers. You want it to stand out. You need layers. Now we're going to leave that. We're going to go to the other side, and we're just going to use the brown. Okay. This was the secondary brown that we had. Now this is actually building kind of the color of the hair. Try not to get it in your shadows. Take that brown on this side, not to cover your shadows with it is what I meant. Can you see? Okay, good. And come around into that highlight that you just made a little bit. Maybe if you missed any of these. Okay, now notice that it starts to make a statement, right? You're going to kind of start to see the hair stand up off the head. Do you see what's happening? Layering, because glazing. We don't want to get it everywhere. Okay, back to the other side. Now we're going to go back with a little bit, again, of the yellow ochre, and we're going to hit those highlight points. Sorry, my hand is in the way. Little tiny strokes with the very tip of your brush, okay? And so it's actually, it's kind of similar in a lot of ways to non-metallic metal. Okay, you're going to lighten the paint again with the yellow ochre. Roll the point. And again, I'm kind of going this way, so didn't quite get the strokes the way I wanted on that one. So I'm going to come back with the ink. Correct. You're going to have moments like this. Correct. Just put the shadow all back in there. Base brown. Okay, that's a correction. We will come back and grab that in a minute. All right, now we're going to take the plain yellow ochre. Keeping that line kind of going where we want that light streak. Now, in very, very, very fine strokes, many times over and over and over, this idea does work on your regular miniatures. However, it's more of a cartoon effect. It's designed to be more of an animated effect. Now, we're going to mix some of that brown with the yellow ochre and create what on the dark side would kind of be our little bit of a highlight. And we're going to make some small striations just as the light comes over on a little bit of that hair. Not as bright, but just enough to show a little glisten and give a little volume. We're also going to use it to create some little secondary, very gently, adding and pulling into the existing on the opposite side. So going away from the light and pulling into your highlight and glazing between those lines. So it becomes the highlight for the opposite side and a secondary highlight for volume on this side. A light on the light side, sorry. Well, on the dark side of the highlight. Yeah, that's a confusing one now. Okay, then we got to make sure we've got enough of that. We want to get a really good balance. Do we need a couple of little pops in here, maybe, of an in-between color with just a little bit more like that? Maybe a tiny bit there. Like you're creating overall. When we look at him from the front, how is it looking? Maybe we need a little bit. And we need to fix this front one. Remember, I didn't like the direction of the shinies on that one. That's what my problem was. Okay, that's looking much better. We want to kind of drag that on the front right there to get a little more dynamic. There we go. Do you see? And I actually drug that like right into the shadow almost on the front, just to get a little more, you know, we're looking for that volume. Now, in the same instance, I'm going to take a little bit of that ochre and gotta be really careful with it. Put right there. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the ochre that's mixed to create that secondary. And I'm just going to put the tiniest bit right there. It's just creating a little bit of texture on the other side of his head, right? Just to get a little bit more volume. Now's the part where you take the ochre and you mix it with the off-white, okay? This is where you really have to be extremely gentle with your application because you can overdo this, okay? You're using the off-white to create what you would be like a really super intense blonde, okay? And I'm gonna use even a smaller brush. So I'm gonna, yeah, you really want these little striations to be super tiny. So I'm gonna recommend like one of your good brushes that you use for very fine detail. The other thing is a little bit of retarder will make you able to make the strokes without the strokes being like dry or choppy, like a smooth effect. Very, very light blonde. Be careful about the consistency. This is challenging. And tiny, I do mean tiny. You're going to make a little bit of that. And you're going to do this trying to keep it at the peak of the highlight. Okay? See that? So you want it at the very top of where you've created the highlight, the very lightest spot, and a very small amount of it. In oil painting, we referred to it, and when we painted eyes, we referred to it as the glint. So it's like a glint of light. keeping them all kind of along that same track. Tiny, tiny. Separating them sometimes helps create more texture. So you may not want them to be like, you don't want a glob that looks like a big paintbrush smooch, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to get this one here. It's going to be a little bit harder because of how it's located on its, give that a little bit of a curve as we come in. Yep, I'm having a lot of trouble with my magnets. I think what I'm going to do is maybe stick people to the bases and have bases for this specific. And then I will take this, and in a couple of areas that are not, I will just put a couple of little ones. That they're not, those aren't in line. They are in line as the light comes across, but they're not. Now, do you see what happened there? Hold on. Now, you can come back in if you want to pull back on a highlight in any one location. You can come back in with your darker colors. And create these striations that then, now, and it's up to you. You could call it done, or you could come in and create these. And again, you would be creating more volume. You need to be careful when you do this that you are pulling from your shadow and that you are not completely covering all that hard work you just did. If for some reason you happen to get some highlight into any one of the shadows, this is also a good opportunity to claim your shadow back. It is definitely difficult at this angle for me to give you guys the view. It really is. I'm thinking about a secondary view when that happens in the new setup. I am now using the secondary brown, kind of the base color, and breaking up a little bit, kind of pulling a little secondary highlight. Since it's median, it also could be a secondary shadow. It kind of depends on how you look at that. But really what this does is takes the, by coming back in for the base brown, that's the kind of chocolatey looking one, and adding a few of these into the shadow, dragging over the highlight. Really what it does is takes away from it being such a white glary appearance and creates more texture. The object on the curl is to try to keep your little lines going in the direction of the curls. So like if you're making your lines this way, but the grain of the hair is going this way, then that's when it starts to look really wacky. Now, one thing we're going to need to do is like separate this line. You notice where we need to make a really, really dark line. And this is where on the animated characters, even on some regular ones, I like to take and do some pin lining. And so let's clean up our glow. The hair, we need to, like, okay, I'll show you. What I would do is just take like a little bit of the inks. And I would just warm up the dark one. And then right along, whoop, sorry. Right along here. Mind you, I kind of come up into some of the little recesses. And what I will do is I will go all the way around to the other side. I catch all the little areas that are touching. Now, what really makes, and is the last touch, some dynamic effects is using that super dark shadow. You've got to have a very fine brush, and you want to be very careful not to end up just painting it everywhere. And you'll create little lines. Those little lines, and now if this was a blonde, you would not be using this super dark color. But what happens with this is this will create some really nice little fine lines, again, that will add a whole nother level of volume to your project, because what you've done is deepened the shadows and even taken a few little steps to pull some of that real shadowed area into the hair. Now on my animated characters, I like to do a lot of this glazed lining. I find it adds like a whole nother level of pop. I got this last little area over here on the dark side to get some of those in. I should probably highlight the little tips that are hanging out in the light, in the sun there. Okay. Okay, this is the point where we are going, woo! This is the point where we are going to open for the questions, so that if you guys have any questions. What was our, how many folks are out there today? Oh, we had 13 last time. Did everybody get their alert in Discord? Is Dee Dee out there? In the second half, we're definitely going to do some blending. So, have you guys any questions? So, in reference to this glow, it's a back and forth, cleaning it up. We got to come in here and clean all this glow area up so that we can start to build that. But notice you've got a really good shadow base. What you will do is build on that shadow for the areas you want to be highlighted, rather than highlighting everything and then going in. And when you're dealing in the small spaces, if you just put the shadow in and then kind of build up the little areas that you want to show out of a shadow, I personally have a lot better luck with that. A lot of times trying to get the shadow the shape that I want it. All clear. All clear. Anybody else? Any questions at all at this point? Is it something that you want for your minis that you can utilize that technique? I was hoping it would be. These shadows that we have in by the body. Thank you. Thank you. Curls are good. When the hair gets straight, ooh, I get confused. When it's clumpy, like we had the Joker, clumpy hair I can do, afroed hair I can do. When the hair gets straight, I get lost. So it takes a lot more time, and you got to remember when you're doing straight hair, you've got to remember, even when you're doing curls, you got to remember, keep your highlights. Don't make it like one big, okay, just like a big painted splotch. You want that, or blended doesn't really, if you blend it too much, then it doesn't look like hair. It starts to look like a plastic tube instead. Yeah, so start with your shadow. Just put the shadow in there and leave it. And if you end up wanting more shadow, you take a really, sorry guys, take a really thin brush, and then you come back in and put those little shadows in all the little places, and not just really, and then kind of just drag it out onto the rest of it. Hair does take a little bit of time, you guys. Everything takes a little bit of time, but hair, it really does have a lot in common with non-metallic metal. It does. Ask Pascal. I bet you he will tell you that that is true. So if you practice a lot of hair and then take those steps and carry them with you over onto your non-metallic metal, you're going to want to get even tighter. Every one of those little layers that comes together. This is kind of what non-metallic metal looks like in the sloppy phase. But on hair, it looks really good. Yes, it definitely is. I enjoyed his hair. This is the first one of these that I've painted. But when I saw him, I was like, oh, I got to paint that guy. Does he have a beard? Did I miss a beard? Does he have a goatee? Oh my God. I totally missed his. Oh my God, he has a goatee. Okay, well, we'll paint that a little bit later. I totally missed that. Yeah, see? So, doing a lot of hair, if you choose, get your models out that have some hair and choose your focal light point. And oh no, don't do that. Sorry guys, sorry. A miniature's taking a dive. And practice on that hair. This is a lot what non-metallic metal looks like. When you get your hair correct and you're like, oh yeah, I got highlights, I got volume, I got the striations. Now, when you're doing a tiny model, you don't need this number of, this is bigger, you don't need this number of striations. Just make some lines, just little lines. Like you're going to do your dark color, your medium light color, your highlight. Every one of them getting smaller. Boom, 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 all the way to the top. Dark, medium dark, medium light, light, and then maybe super light. We could do, if we really wanted to make his hair look shiny, we could do a little bit of almost white. But grab out some minis that have some hair and practice on those, because the more you learn that stroke, keeping that stroke, you want to keep that stroke in alignment. Boom, 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 right? Curls are good because you get different areas of alignment. When the hair is straight or wavy, you got to get the part that comes out is shiny. The part that goes in is got your depth or your shadow, and that's going to create your depth between those two. On metal, interestingly enough, and even on hair, we are going to want to add, his cloak is glowy, so we are going to come in here and add some glowy back here. We are, from his cloak. He's going to need this lightened up a little bit right underneath of here so we can get a little bit of green in there. Yes, exactly. You have to learn the stroke. Gotta have it. It's gotta be consistent. Consistent. And you're gonna have, and believe it or not, you're gonna have hard strokes and light strokes. Now this is the truth. So when you're using your brush and you're making these strokes, these are not covering strokes. So these don't have as much pressure on your brush. When we're painting the whole head, blah, 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 yeah, fine. Okay. Don't leave globs in the recesses. All right. When it comes time to create your highlights and build your volume, remember the butterfly kiss. Okay. You want enough. That's why I'm recommending getting that paint retarder for your desk. This one. Okay. This is the one I use. I love this one. And I recommend getting it for your desk so that when you're learning these strokes, you can dip your brush in this before you put it in your paint, and it won't dry. If you're trying to make these teeny tiny little striations and strokes and your brush dries out, you start to make that. I don't even know how to explain a dry paint stroke, but it's a dry, it's like half a stroke. It's it's jagged looking. Sometimes it'll put out paint and then it won't put out paint and the paint will be in the wrong spot. So keeping the brush well conditioned and cleaning the brushes when you're done and using a little bit of retarder when you're doing, if you're doing skin, non-metallic metal, and hair in the developing stages. There's going to come a point where you're so fast at it. I bet Pascal hardly ever uses it unless he's probably painting something giant. If you're painting something really big, then it does help. But once you've got to the point where you are, I don't think like green, he's so fast. That's the one that painted the crusher, the Formoroid crusher for us. Yeah, he's so fast that he doesn't need it. But while you're learning, it really helps. It also helps with frustration. Also, it helps keep the ferrule area of your brush clean. So if you're putting your brush in the paint retarder before you go into the paint, right, then the retarder takes up the little bit of area right up by the ferrule. So when you go into the paint doesn't leach up there. And as you're painting, the retarder flows down the bristles and into the paint area, so you get smooth strokes. Yeah, paint retarder. I was saying, because you're fast, so as we develop that stroke, we don't need it as much. Our blending and everything, we know the rhythm. But when they're learning, it really helps so that your brain can look at what you're doing, slowing it down a little bit for you so you actually understand what you're doing. I've been recommending it to all the people that are just starting to do it. Yeah, see? He doesn't even use it, right? I use a tiny bit of it in my water to thin my paints because I like the consistency. Not because if I really want it slowed down, I'll just put this on my, but the only reason I would need that would be when I'm showing you guys. So if I'm showing you guys, then, I want it to be able to, oh, okay, hang on. That's one of the bad words in our, that is retarder. We have retarded on the bad word list, so it wasn't showing your message. Sorry, Pascal. Yeah. Because, and here's Inky. Look, Inky got his first paint job. He did it himself. How do you like it? I came down this morning and he had taken a bath and all of my paints made a total mess of everything. It was tracked all over the desk. I had to clean it up. He's a troublemaker. And here I was thinking about adopting another couple of them. Troublemaker. Yes, exactly. Oh, I was actually talking about if you got your notice, Miss Raven. I know I went in there and sent you a private notice. I wanted to make sure you got your notice to be here. I wanted to make sure of that. So for the Kickstarter, if you guys are in the UK, there's a UK one. And I believe, I'm not positive about this. I don't know if Australia came through or not. But what? And then we have so you guys, we if you would share our Kickstarter, I would be ever so grateful if you guys would. We are about 33% of the way with about with a is it more than 32 people now?
37.
Okay, wait a minute. You know what? So I had a couple of friends who have really huge followings put the information out there for me yesterday. That's awesome. That means that we have 5 more today than we had yesterday, which is amazing. So that's really good to hear. Yeah, they put it out there. I talked to them the day before yesterday. I had them go watch it and ask them if it was something that maybe they would consider putting on their pages. So that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I was kind of looking for that. So if we have no questions, what I will do really quick, I've got about 15 more minutes. If you guys would like, we will clean up the glow area and go for it. So coming back to, again, the biggest brush that you can use. I'm a big believer in that. If you can use a bigger, a little bit more belly helps, more paint spread. So in this case, we are dealing with the glow area. It is pretty small. I should not get too excited with the size of my brush there. I was getting a little happy ass. See if one of the ones that I'm working on, if they will fit. That looks like a good fit. We'll use that guy. What is this brush? I love this brush. That company. Love that brush. Let me see. What are these two? We'll go with this one. That looks like a reasonable. All right. So in this case, again, we are coming back in for glow. Now, where is this glow going to originate from? And it's going to be in the lines. It's thinner out here than it is up there. So what I will do is I will take the pure white and the lime green. And I'm going to mix. And what this is going to do with the lime green is the white creates, you get the lime green base color, okay? It's very clear though. And what this does is it adds 2 neon paints, and you need pure white. So not gray white, not any, okay. Yellow white might be the exception to the rule. Be careful what color, but you need a pure white or a yellow white to get a good glow. And if you mix it with your neon paint, okay, it creates opacity. So you get more coverage. You're not going to get that neon color, but it really doesn't matter because right now what we're doing is we're cleaning the area up and we need a little bit of opacity. Now I'm going to put the green towards the top, okay, and the yellow towards the base. In this case, kind of dabbing the paint when you're dealing with neons, dabbing is going to give you a little more paint coming off the brush. And a little bit thicker also. A little bit of inconsistency until you get the vibration you're looking for in your glow. So I kind of like to give my glow a little life. If you get a little bit of it spilling over, don't worry. You do want to get the inner recesses of the design because glow. And then you'll kind of notice it start to clean up. All right. It starts to get better shape. We will get a smaller brush even yet in here before we are all done. But first, we're going to determine the pattern of our globe. Now, if you remember, I was going to do this color on the bottom. Okay. We're going to go in here and we're going to clean up some of this. Now, we're going to need a little more white this area. When you get into an area that maybe just didn't have the amount of coverage you wanted, you can add a little more white, understanding you are going to come back and fix this. Looks like I got a little bit of yellow somewhere I actually didn't want it. Notice? Now I'm going to use that with a little stronger white at the tip of every one of these, okay? The top points where we're creating the lines to clean up the design. And kind of where we're going into the shadows so that we can cover maybe where we got a little bit of shadow in an area we really don't need it, because I might have drug it right into the glowy part. Okay. In here. Now in this part, I may need, let me see, I don't know. I may need a smaller brush. We shall see. We're going to have to come back for that shadow that I added, because right now I need a super small brush for that and it's right in the way. Okay, now you're pulling the opposite direction. Remember, we pulled the shadows out. Now we are going to pull the glow in. Okay, now we're going to let that dry. What I am going to do also is get that right on this edge, because right there doesn't want to cover. And every once in a while I get little spots like that. I'm going to really pop that up. And then I will be able to get some coverage there, which will make me very happy. I'm going to take some of the Christmas tree green and get this little leading edge here. Which is before the glowy green. I've added a tiny bit of white to it just to create a little bit better coverage. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing with the white, okay? You're going to take, the yellow. You're going to take the white and add it to the yellow, and you're going to create a very intense yellow white. And you're never going to mix it with your good brush like your captain just did. Maybe you didn't see that. Yeah, don't do that. Same thing with the yellow. Okay. And on the yellow, you're going to hit all these areas that are going to be yellow. Twirl that little tip. We get to come back in again with the green and clean, okay? Remember that part of the battle is first establishing your composition, fighting your way through the ugly stage, okay, which we're about to hit the super ugly stage. Well, not really. We've kind of started cleaning up. But realizing you're going to get through that, and then you're going to have something you like. I think I'm gonna bring that glow all the way up and out. We are creating an effect that is in your mind. Yours does not have to look like mine. The object is to make it look the way you want it to look. Like, can you get the effect you want? I will overlap the greens. Oops. As in that green we just put in a little bit in some areas. I really want to get a nice glow here. I intend to get a little OSL going on right here. Believe me when I tell you that this opacity that the white gives, it's the trick that I use, this underglow, on all my glows that you guys see. Now we're building that little white yellow areas up a little more. Notice them start to pop a little bit. Now my camera is bleaching it out a little bit so you guys actually can't quite see it. I'm actually going to have to come up with a different way of transmitting when I do glow effects in the new area. I noticed that it's something that has to be cured, because I do a lot of that. And a little bit of this here. Now notice how much cleaner everything starts to look, right? Oh, there we go. And then this out here. Make that edge again. Now we're going in with some of the yellow. Yellow white, sorry. I'm cleaning up a shadow right now. So I don't want that one there. There we go. I'm looking for these three areas to come through really strong. I'll get a little bit of OSL on his hand probably. We will come back in and clean up, but these are layering. So in this layering, you're going to get a whole lot of beautiful color coming through from other parts where you've put the colors in. Get a real good glow going right there. Look at that one. It's starting to build, right? This is the yellow and the white with a little more white added now. We're going in to get those kind of what I refer to as hot points on lava. Picking out the points we kind of want to be a little bit more dominant in their glow effect. If you get a little bit like that, I just screwed up and got it on the green. Don't worry, you're going to come back in for that. Gotta get these little areas here. Gotta get just the right amount. There we go. Now you can really see it start to build. And then just before we go, I'm just going to kind of do a little overlay on an area for you so you can sort of get a picture of it. A little area, we'll take one little area, we'll take a small brush, okay? We'll come in with our Christmas tree green. and we'll glaze that green up. But you can see as we clean it, there's going to be these little areas where you kind of may have gone out of the line. And the interesting thing about it is it will actually look like part of the living glow effect. Now we're going to go in for the lime green. I'm going to take a little bit of that really dark green, and I'm going to make sure that I get this recess right here. We don't want to lose that volume. Watch this. That volume is so important to the total build. So you got to kind of work with it, and a little bit of wet blending goes a long way. So notice I'm blending in a super tight spot. So I'm just using the very, very tip of the brush, okay? And I'm just getting it. Literally, I think I'm practically making spots. And cleaning it up. We will thin the green, neon green. And glaze it. We will thin the neon yellow with the smallest amount of green added, so you get more of a hyper lime green. Glaze it onto the areas that are green, whether they be dark green or Christmas tree green. And while that's still wet, I'll pick up some of the yellow in its pure form, and I will wet blend it in here. I will get a little bit on some of the green areas where the glow is coming out. Then I will take pure white while it is still wet. Bright white while it's still wet. This is glazing, not the way I usually do it, where we do the underglow and everything. This is a glazing technique. Okay. Good night. Good night, and thank you for coming in. A little area right here. Uh-oh, sorry guys. Little area right here where I'm just gonna make sure I get a good shadow so that my volume is right. There. Okay, now we of course would kind of go up here. But you can just, if you just look at that one little spot right there, you can kind of see what's happening. You'll notice we've got a little area here that I'm working on. Yeah. And then you create the depth for that is actually going to be just the lime green itself straight to create the indentations in the fabric around it. And get that little bit of glow right there with the yellow. This is all the cleaned up part, but that was just to show you guys so you could kind of see as we move forward what we're getting as an effect. It's nice to be able to see what the outcome is. So that's what I was creating for you there, is just so that you guys can kind of get an idea of where it's going. And that wraps it up. We only went 4 minutes over that slot. And you actually got to see, so then the hair, right? Building the glow. That one's going to be really cool. We get to work with a swoosh, and that's always really good fun. I love working with this shape. In fact, my new logo has this shape on it. And kind of getting a little bit, you can kind of see a little bit there. There'll still be, of course, a little more yellow and a little more white added to that to get that full, powerful effect along the edges and everything. Like right there, you know, there's going to be a little bit more, you got to get that real yellow-white color. Right now, I seem to have gotten excited and put a little too much green in there. There we go. I got to get in there with some of that and then come in and glaze it a little bit so that we can get these nice hot points built. There we go. See? You gotta get those hot points built a little bit. This one here. Also, kind of the way lava works, only we're using reds. I'm really glad that you like it. I'm glad you guys like it. And that ends our session today on, mind you now, shadowing the deep recesses. So you guys like see how that just goes back and the glazing, right? Look at this. This is a little recess here. I went back in and I darkened it, but then I came back out here and I lightened around it. A lot of times on miniatures, if you can put some super bright highlight beside a shadow, you're going to get more volume. It really does help. You know, you wouldn't think that. You think, oh, it has to be graduated, but it's not true. Sometimes you need to do that to get that little bit of help for that extra pop. Notice how dark these shadows are. When I come in here to lift this out, I'm not going to get too crazy with it. I'm going to put a little bit of glow on it. But first, you got to come in there and you got to hit it with a little bit of glazing in your base green so that you still have the shadows. And then you kind of build that up. See? So this way, you're going to end up with the very tip out here in the light is going to end up being brighter. And you'll build it a little more. But then the part that is up underneath of his head is going to be a little darker. First, you want to get a good base. And you actually might have to come back in. Don't ever worry about it. If you got to come back in because you got a little paint in the shadow, just come back in and just drag right on through that shadow and take it back. You just want to keep your shadows where they belong, and the shadows belong in the shadows. But as we build this forward, you will very carefully, and without using like any major amount of your like your yellow and stuff, because of where it's located, you're probably not going to want to do that. You're going to come in here and you're going to build a little bit of the glow on the very tippy tip of this hood. And this will start to build the volume. Now see how that's really bright? My lights are doing that. But that's just the base. That's just the base. And I got a little lime green going on in there. And you're going to come in and you will glaze those shadows right on down with the darker green. But notice how well the green will go right over that shadow. But then again, it's not super bright green and obnoxious. And you can get into your shadow and boom, just steal it right on back. Making sure we keep those good strong shadows. And thinning it and glazing. When you come up under the head, you got to glaze that green down. And when you get out where, as the in working with these neon colors, you got to keep a little bit of that distilled water or that medium handy, because they will dry on your palette and you don't want to be painting with clumps. And now you can come in here and just highlight the area you want to glow, and then we'll move those shadows and we'll bring them on down so that we're just getting the area we want glowing. Little bit of wet blending, a little bit of glazing, and then it starts to look like maybe that cloak is doing that. See? So it doesn't look like the hood's glowing. It looks like the hood is reflecting a little bit of the glow in its green. And on the subject of getting a little glow in the hair, you don't even need to do much but stipple a little bit of this in here and build it. You don't need to make any crazy underglow if you don't want to. This will start to show up if you just stipple, look, and right, and it'll look. If you get it built, it will look like you got a proper glow. You can actually use the yellow and then come in over the yellow so that you don't get like too much crazy. You don't want to take over the whole thing, but you want to get a little bit of this in here, and you want to be seen that this is giving a little OSL. Use a little yellow. And then you can come in there over the, see that? And then you can come in over the yellow and hit it with the green. Interesting that yellow over brown actually really does look a lot like green. But stippling it in. If you want to make some super spazzy highlights for it to make it look like it's super shimmery on his skin, or so, you totally can. But this is an easy way. You do want to come back and get the little shadows once you do this with the stippling. That is one of the downsides to it. You do want to come back in and get your shadows claimed back on your little curls. Otherwise, you will not have the amount of volume to them. And this, mind you, that's all yellow right there that we're using right now. So you can leave it yellow if you're going over brown, or you can come back and you can do it green, either way. But notice that it really makes a nice realistic glow on the hair, so it's not overwhelming, you know, because sometimes you can be a little overwhelming with the glow effects. But definitely coming back in here and getting those really dark shadows redeveloped in the hair will totally make also your glow pop. All right, that's it for today, guys. I'm going to take about an hour break. I will see you guys, I believe, on the 15th of August for our next. We are changing, remember this, write it in your calendars. We are changing third Saturdays to third Sundays starting August. So we will not be streaming on that day anymore. That third Sunday of every month, we will no longer be streaming public. We will just be doing our Patreon course, and then we will be doing our Patreon roundtable afterwards. I will see you guys hopefully at the roundtable in about an hour. I hope you have learned something from this and that the subject has been helpful to you. I really do. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the YouTube chat so that other people can also see the answers to them. If you have any subjects that you think would be good to address, please send me a message and let me know, and we will try to coordinate. I will definitely be posting pictures of the progress of this in the Patreon, maybe, or on the website blog, one of those two locations, so that you guys can see, and then I will, chatty chat out the steps for you, or maybe even do the whole YouTube scenario. But as you can see, I think this is something simple enough that you guys are able to look back on and follow. And it has been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for showing up. I hope to see you at the round table in about an hour. Paints, brushes, minis, get your